We've all been there. You absolutely batter a team. The stats say so, but you end up drawing the match. How can we get more goals to stop this happening? Hey, how's it going, folks? So at the minute, I'm over in Italy, Serie A with Inter, just testing a tactic, and long-term subscribers of the channel will know that's where I go to do it. And we're battering teams left, right, and centre. Some teams are getting a bit annoying though, such as these guys. And if you look at the stats, it should be a lot more comfortable than it is. So I'm going back to the old school 5 tips that I use to break defensive teams down. Without any more messing around, let's go straight to them. This is the game we're going to use for it, and it's perfectly poised. We're 1-0 down to Genoa, who've had one shot and they've scored it on the break, the little rascals. We're starting to pepper the goal, but we're not making the breakthrough. And Genoa are sitting back now. One look at the heat map will tell you that. This is probably a situation you found yourselves in as well, and this is what we're going to attempt to break down with these 5 tips. So, number 1 is the width. At the minute, we're set on fairly wide. Now remember, attacking width will focus the play a lot more down the side. So if we go a bit wider, it's going to bring the wide players into the game more and stretch the play a bit. In this instance, I would recommend wide or even extremely wide. When you're that dominant, you can afford to go extremely wide and open up the play. This will mean their entire team are going to have to come out and hopefully leave gaps for players in and around the middle. Straight away in the second half, you can see how wide we are. Now look at the distance between the players. So we've got Sanchez down here and we've got Dumfries out there. Because we're playing wide, look at all the other players coming over to that side of the pitch as well. So there's a big overload on the wing. It's going to be the same on the other side as well. This means Genoa have got more space to cover, so they're going to have to push themselves out wide. And as we play it on, Alexis gains a penalty, so we get back into the match. So the first one has done the job. Now the next one is role changes, and this is my favourite one, to be honest with you, and one that most people are kind of reluctant to do. They've got players who they like playing in certain roles, and that's where they're going to keep them. But if you're struggling to break teams down, what can you do here? So if you look at the team now, I've got a central midfielder on attack and a box-to-box midfielder. Now these boys are going to get a load of the ball because Genoa are so deep. So my recommendation is to get a playmaker involved. You can do that little bit extra. So if we change Hakan, for example, to an advanced playmaker on attack, he's going to try and look for that more direct through ball, taking a few more risks. Another popular one I like to do, advanced forward, is a really popular role in the game. But remember, he's all about movement, so he goes all over the place, left and right, as does the false 9. So when you're making this amount of chances with the amount of possession you've got, sticking someone like a poacher, for example, who's going to operate in and around the box and just concentrate on chances will be a really good move. So now we've got Lautaro sticking into the central areas, and we've got Hakan pushing forward looking for that key pass. As we play this on now, you can see Lautaro's not straying far from his position into the centre there, as Alexis pungs it through and Lautaro pops it in. Poacher! So the takeaway from that one is to not get too hooked up on your roles. If a player's playing well in that role, don't be scared to change him though to something that might help the situation. Tempo. Now this one might split opinions, but most people, including myself, will start the match on higher or extremely high. And if it's going well, it's great, but sometimes your shots column can be a bit out of proportion, so you're taking a load of shots, but a lot are off target. And that's because your team are rushing. Now, if you can slow it down a bit sometimes, when you're completely dominant, your players will take a little bit more time in picking and choosing the right shot. To get even more bang for your buck out of this one, you could drop in work ball into the box. The players are going to wait for that key opportunity, and if you're adding a playmaker into the mix as well, like we have, you can have a bit more of a chance. We've now moved on to a game against Monza, which is even better because they are going to be sitting right back. And if you can see the formation there, that sums it up. Now, this one is about your line of engagement. Now, look, we are a strong team. We're Inter Milan, for God's sake. Our line of engagement is going to be super high. That's what we're pressing high as hell. But what that does is it traps their defenders in. So they're going to encourage them to sit back. So occasionally, when you can't break the teams down, why not just drop your line to standard or even lower to give their defenders a bit more time on the ball? They might get a bit cocky and start pushing up a little bit. Now the goal of this is for these defenders to start pushing up, so we'll keep an eye on the heat map to see if they do make the move forward, which is what we're trying to encourage them to do by not pressing the back line. There you can see they just move forward a little bit there, so they are getting a bit more cocky. So what I'm looking for here is, when we win the ball back there, that they are a bit higher up, and you can see they are, so there's a bit more of a gap for us to work in. And that leads to Lautaro pinging it in and us getting the win after a really hard fought battle against defensive Monza. So player instructions now. Now I prefer to change these rather than the team instructions. I've got my team layout, but my player instructions I can focus in on each particular player. So for example, Hakan here, if it's about 60-70 minutes and we're struggling to break a team down, I've got him set to take fewer risks. We can flip that on its head, we'll take that off and we'll add it. And we'll combine that with more direct passing. Now remember, more direct passing doesn't mean longer balls, it actually means they're encouraged to take more risks when passing to try and find the ball to unlock. So basically, they're looking for more key passes, which is what we want, that can lead to assists. And you can have a good look around your whole team on where you think you can get more expressive basically. So, for example, the wing backs. Here I've got him from crossing from the byline, shooting less often. That's it. What else can we add? We can ask him to dribble more. If he's dribbling more, he's going to force the opposition back and create space when other defenders come to try and meet him. So we'll get both wing backs, for example, dribbling more rather than less. There's loads you can do. Other ones I like to do are for one of the forwards, if I'm playing two, asking them to roam from position so they're not going to be stuck where they are. They're actually going to move around a little bit more. And like we mentioned previously, if we change our other striker to poacher, where he's patrolling in there, then we've got one of the forwards roaming around. The defenders will not know who to mark. There's loads of others depending on how the game's going. You can move into channels, you can get further forward, you can push all sorts of different aspects onto your player instructions. There's loads to do, blank canvas. It's a great option. So there you have it, crew. Remember, that's not an exhaustive list, that's just the ones I use. There's probably loads more, and if you do have some, bang them in the comments below so people can get some ideas. But there's some ideas for you that I like to use. They're not always going to work, but put some combinations together, it's worth a try, right?